All right, so let's get into Pinterest and how to pin, what to pin, all of that jazz. And I don't know what's going on with my, no idea what is going on with my recording screen today, but it's not loving me pulling up Canva while I'm trying to record. It's froze. This is the third time, so it's froze. So I'm not going to pull Canva up on my screen. I will just have it here on my phone and then kind of like demonstrate this way. Okay, so when we are going in and we are going to be saving pins, here's what I recommend doing first. So the first thing that I usually do is I will go into Canva, and you can find the link to Canva in the Ultimate Tech Resource Vault. Otherwise, what we're going to go and do is we're going to make sure that we go into the templates and we're going to click on pins. It's underneath the social media tab. I wish I could like stream this. So underneath of Pinterest pins. Here we go. Okay, so Pinterest pins, and obviously it says like here's the pin. There's a Pinterest carousel ad. So we're always, I love this one. This one is a fantastic pin because it's very, do you see how it's kind of like broken up and it's got that very luxury font? So the first things first that we want to do is we want to find a pin that matches the design and the aesthetic, because Pinterest is not forgiving with aesthetic. It's got to be inspirational. It's got to match the brand. If there's like a font to aesthetic mismatch on what the brand or the destination is, it's going to create friction for the brand. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find, so you can find and save a couple of these that you like, but I recommend for luxury brands such as this is, obviously this is for my client. This one, right? See this right here? This is the example of what would not be good for a luxury destination elopement photographer who's charging like high ticket prices. That's not ideal. So what we're doing is um, we're looking for templates that are going to be gorgeous, high converting, and you're looking for like serif style fonts that are mixing or matching. Okay, so this is another one that's really good right here. Okay, now the video pins like this, those are gorgeous and they are going to attract attention, because when you're on Pinterest and you are scrolling, it doesn't matter if you're on Pinterest or what you're on, you always have to ask yourself, what's everybody else doing? And how can I make myself stand apart? That is what a marketer does. So a lot of people on Pinterest are creating what I call flat 2D pins. Okay. Flat 2D pins, they can fade into the background. So we want to make sure that it's looking like, even this one right here, this would be another super cute one, because you could say like top beach or top um, things to do on 30A for for an elopement. Eloping on 30A, here's what to do, right? So I really like moving style pins like that. So the first one will be to select the style of pin that is going to match the brand. Okay, that's going to match the brand. Like, and you can see this one even says your guide, the most romantic places to elope. Okay, so for example, like this pin right here, I probably would delete this one because when you look at it, it's very like blocky and the font isn't matching the brand, right? And the background is a little bit like more dark. So I don't think that this one is going to get a lot of traffic. And you can see when you look at the amount of views on it, I'm pretty sure that those are from me. So what we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and delete this one. Because it's better to have nothing at all up than to have one thing that is going to detract from the brand. So we're just going to delete that one right there, because people are not loving it. They're like, no, it's not matching the vibe. Okay, now if we scroll down a little bit, you can see like this is a really good one right here, because it's well lit. It's very, you know what I'm saying? Like your eye is instantly attracted to this because of the font, because of the color. It's very vibrant. So those are the types and styles of photos that are going to make for a really good backdrop here. on Pinterest, because Pinterest is very, very particular about that. So these look really good. Okay, so when you're creating pins and content, excuse me, what we're doing is we're looking to create those pins that are going to point traffic back to whatever it is that our main posts are about in the resource vault. And you can absolutely repurpose pins and things, because the more content that we have out there that's educational and surrounding the brand, the better. So, for example, this one says the top 5 questions to ask a potential elopement photographer. One of the reasons that this is going to be a key pillar piece of content for the brand is because if somebody is clicking on this post, we know for sure that they are interested in booking because they're already downloading the resources or reading a blog relating to questions to ask your potential elopement photographer. So this is a piece of content. This is what we'll call one of our pillar contents. Okay, so when we go into the resource library, and the top 5 questions to ask, that is the blog post, was actually a niched down version of the free resource guide, which is a lead magnet that she offers on her page, which is the 15 questions to ask an elopement photographer. So she has, this one is the top 5 questions to ask. Okay. So one of the things on here is, are you legally ordained or do we need to hire an officiant? Now, if we are going to niche down even further and figure out what kind of pins do we create, like what kind of content do we make. You could even take, this is what I call when you have an umbrella post or an umbrella concept in your marketing, you take a micro version of that piece of content to create more content around. So for example, with this, she could create educational content. She could create another blog post related just to this topic. She could create a pin that said, like, do I need to hire an officiant for my elopement? Because this is a question. When you're creating content, you have to think and you have to sit down and really get into the mind of your ideal client avatar and think, not avatar, but your ideal client, and really get to know them and think, what kind of questions are they asking when they're online? What are they searching for? What don't they know the answer to? Because if you can be a mind reader, okay, this is what I call like psychic selling, like a psychic seller, because if you know what they're going to ask, then you can figure out the content to create that's going to get your content in front of them, that's going to make them click. And as long as you have your content structured correctly in the conversion based format, which I know she does because I made it for her, it's going to convert, because people are like, oh, okay, because the whole goal with building a brand is to attract, connect, and convert. So the first piece of that is we are attracting them, okay, on Pinterest, we're attracting them. The second thing that we're doing is we're connecting them to the information that they need that's answering their question, but we're not giving too much away for free. It's like a little micro dose, right? We're like, okay, here's a little piece of that content. Oh, you want the next piece? Okay, you're going to want to opt in. You know, we're walking them through the client ascension process. So we're going from free to a micro commitment, which is a blog, and then downloading the lead capture. And then ultimately, like, what's the end goal here is to get them to either pay for her services, which are her guides, or ideally book the service with her. Okay, like an elopement package with her. That's the goal. So what we're doing is we're becoming a psychic seller. So now this is where you can take a piece of content and just want for that week. Maybe that's the educational piece of content that you focus on. Maybe this is the question that you're going to make a talking head video around and say, okay, because part of building brand awareness is educating your audience. So part of that now is you can be, okay, do I need to hire an officiant or what? And then you can say the differences, like, well, some photographers are only going to show up on location, and some of the cheaper photographers, if they are, you know, in a like a location based, They're not there for the whole process. And that's really the difference. So she's educating them on, oh, that's why some photographers are cheaper. Because if I show up to Joshua Tree with a location-based photographer, maybe, oh, sure, he's got a $1,500 package, but he doesn't do excursions. He doesn't do officiating, okay, versus the type of photographer that she is, which is an all-inclusive. So she helps people with the planning, the guiding, the preparation, the permits, like all that kind of thing is what makes her and puts her in an entirely different class. But maybe the average person doesn't understand that. So part of my client's job here is to educate them on the differences so that they then understand what value she provides. So when she's answering this question, and somebody's coming online because they're like, well, do I need an officiant or like what? So when she's producing that content, she's creating education-based content. And what she can do is she can loop them back around to this blog post right here, which then at the end is designed like, hey, by the way, here's the top 5 questions. Oh, a gentle note. Go ahead and download the full guide. Okay, so this is a full 14-page guide that she has put together where they can get all of their questions answered. And it's like, oh, by the way, here's the next steps. Here's the elopement bundle. And if you want to work with me, like obviously come click on the inquire button. Okay. So this is like a whole process where the blog post in and of itself is a mini sales letter. So if she's creating content on TikTok, and if this week's piece of content from this blog piece is, do I need to hire an officiant or like what? So she can link them back to this article. She could even create an entirely separate blog post just dedicated to that. And this could be a post that was then, that is that week's weekly education post or content. Okay. So now if she were to go out and create a pin on this, she would backlink it to this particular post right here, or she would go in and create a different blog post. Okay. Now let's talk about when we're actually going in and we're ready. Oh gosh, I sliced my finger this morning. It really hurts. When she's actually ready to create a pin, I'm going to go in and do that for you from scratch so that you can see what that would look like. Actually, I don't know if I can do that from scratch because my freaking, it's so laggy and I don't understand what's going on with that. It's pretty ridiculous. So, okay, so let's pretend that I'm going to go in and, okay, so this one too, by the way, this was another example. You see how this looks? It's just like, wow. This is the analytics from I believe it's like the last 30 days. When we first posted this, it had a crazy amount of traffic on it. Now, when we're talking about creating the posts for Pinterest, typically you want them in the up and down, although there's nothing wrong with pinning the sideways images that are actually from the blog itself. So let me show you what that looks like. For example, when we go into the resource library and we click on, let's click on this one. So ideally, if you're uploading a native pin to Pinterest, which is what we want to do because we're creating the content, we're doing 2 things here. So number 1, we can pin this directly from her post. Okay, so obviously this is directly from the blog, so it's going to be sideways. When we go in and create a pin from scratch, what we're doing is we're going to create it in the Pinterest pin size. So when you're doing that in Canva, that's what you're doing. And you can see here, like this is real, like somebody repinned this one where they're like, ooh, Praia de Ursa, like, yeah, it's right. Cause she's creating that inspirational based content. Because ideally we want people to be in, we want them to be pinning her stuff. So this one right here. Now, as you can see, this was uploaded into Pinterest. And so this was created inside of Canva. I took images of, so inside of Canva, I was able to search the video library for images of Praia de Ursa and inside of Portugal, that area. And then what we did was we created a pin just on that, which is, I mean, it's gorgeous, right? And then what we're doing is we always want to make sure that we're putting in underneath of here, we're putting in the blog. So they have the link to her website, right? Because we want them to go to rachelsuephotography.com/blog. And then inside of here, you can see I did Praia de Ursa, Portugal. For sample timelines, location tips, and more, visit. Now, there's a psychological reason that I do this, and I added this in 3 times. It's so that people, like, they see it a little bit better and it sticks in their brain. You can do, I would not do more than 5, okay? 5 Pinterest hashtags in the description, but that was in the description of the pin. So now if I were to go in, like, let's say I'm going to go create a pin real quick. So let me go ahead and look and see. Let's see. Yeah, see, even this one's a little bit more like dark and grayscale, and Pinterest, even like this one. So Pinterest really favors brighter images. So just a heads up, you guys, if you're creating content on Pinterest, they do favor that more. Just because it's clickable, it's more clickable, it's more bright. Not that there's nothing wrong with this. Like, you can absolutely pin your TikToks, pin whatever it is that you have. But they are very aesthetic, like, heavy. So it's really got to stand out in the crowd, and it's got to match your branding. So we do recommend like more luxury style font pairings, and then adding in your site. As you can see at the bottom here, it's got her .com on the bottom. So, okay, let me see here. Let me see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go in here and see if I can find, we're going to go to create a pin. Let's do that. Just kidding. Let's go to created. Okay, so now when I go in, is there a new, here we go. Here's the create button. Create a pin. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's save from URL. Let's see what we can find. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what we got. For now, let's just pretend that this is, because I don't think there's any, this is a video. Let's see what we got. Delete that one. Okay. Drag and drop or click to upload images or video. We'll just do this first. Okay, so we'll do this one. We'll add one pin. So just pretend for now that this is optimized and it has, that it's got all of like the graphic around it. We're going to pretend that that's what we already did. But as you know, it's not, it's not loving that for me right now. It's definitely being a pain in the butt. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So now we're going to say, destination elopement officiant guidelines. Okay. Tell everyone what this pin is about. Do you need an officiant to elope? Okay, or let's see. Destination elopement officiant and photographer. All right, so let's just say, tell everyone what this pin is about. Are you looking to book a no further. We'll just do this one for now. So we'll go. Okay, and we'll put this down here. Information. Okay, we'll go like this. Okay. I always like to use a little emojis. Okay, and now this is where I do this trick. I learned this, I don't know scientifically, but it seems to help. Okay, and now we're gonna go like this. We're gonna do beach elopement. Okay, we'll just do that for now. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and do add alt text. So we're gonna say destination beach elopement, right? Okay, and now this is the, okay. Okay, so now it's going to, now this one is very basic. So if I go ahead and click on, we're not gonna publish it to Pin Ideas, we're gonna put it on beach elopements, and we'll go ahead and click on publish. So she already has her boards. She already has her boards picked out where when we put them on her profile, okay, so here's one. Add a link, choose a board, tag product. So here's the other cool thing. When you upload a pin into here, you're doing the title, you're doing the description, you put your link in there. Now, if you're doing a post that is linking back to a specific blog post article, that's where you're going to put that in here. You'll choose the board that it goes for. You could even just say like elopement inspo if you wanted to have a board that was dedicated to that. And then tagged topics. This is where it gets really, really important because there are elopements, beach weddings, destination elopements, and I think it was like wedding photographer. So that's where the tagged, let me just see, pin downloads. Let's see what I got here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So 5 questions. Let's do this one. Okay. 5 questions to ask your potential elopement photographer. Perfect. So let's do this one again. I don't want to design the pin. The pin's already done. Okay. It might have just messed this one up. My nose itches. Okay. Let's see. That looks fine. So we're going to say the top questions to ask a destination elopement photographer. Here's what to ask before you book. And now we're going to go like this, and we're going to put this here. Okay, and now we're going to go elopement photographer, beach elopement, destination elopement photographer, adventure elopement. Okay, now the link that we're going to put in here, that's where we're going to go back in, and because we want this blog post article to go to that exact blog post that is going to be talking about that. Otherwise, if you just link it back to your main page or your main site, people are going to click on that expecting that they're going to go to be taken to a particular article, and that'll kill conversions. So when you see people just like, or if you ever click an article or click a thing and it doesn't go to the right spot, you're not going to take the time to go sit and surf around and dig through all the blog posts. That's why people bounce. We don't want to have a high bounce rate. So we want to be the director of guiding them through that process. So we want to put that information right in front of them. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to do choose a board, which would be eloping, like let's do start here. Now this is the tagged topics. This is where we're going to say adventure. Let's see, is adventure? No. So we're going to do elopement. We're going to do destination. Okay, destination elopement doesn't come up, but we're going to do destination wedding. And we're going to do beach wedding. And we're going to do beach wedding photos. And we're going to do wedding photography. Okay, so those are, you can tag up to 5 different topics. This is where you can add products to this. So if you have a product, this is where we can do, let's see, does it come up? No. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and use a link. So we're going to go to product page. Looks like it. All right. If you may use okay, so we're going to go ahead and go like that. So we just added the product in there. And now if we X out of here, now it's got a, do we add the product or not? It doesn't look like it added it. I feel like because it's like out of screen or something, which is really weird. Anyway, that link didn't work. Okay. Anywho, you add the products in there. I think it's just not going to let me do it right now because it's out of the, so then we go into more options. If you click on this down below, we're able to get on into the more options. This is where you can describe the pin's visual details. So this is where we would say, okay, so this is where we can say destination elopement couple adventure wedding. All right, and now this is where you could like publish at a later date, show similar products. You can turn that on or off. You can allow people to comment if you want to. And then this is where you can go ahead now and click on publish. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, if you were to do the micro strategy where you take a concept from one of the posts and you repurpose it, right? So this is where we take an umbrella piece of content and we can niche down like we were talking about before. So that's where you would go in and you would be able to select one of these, right? Like, and you don't have to have the photos or the content yourself. That's where you can utilize photo libraries. You can utilize Canva, Unsplash, Pixel, like all of these other platforms to be able to grab that and then drive more traffic back to the blog post that you're already, the content that you already have done, which is really cool. So for this one, for example, if I wanted to drive more traffic like to this particular page, you could say, okay, you could put in like a sample timeline here. That would be like, okay, here's a sample timeline for Praia de Ursa. That would be an example of that. So who is a destination elopement in Praia de Ursa, Portugal for? You could create a piece of content on that. So you could create a pin that said, who is a destination elopement for? And then you would link back to this one, right? So when you're creating educational content, you don't always need to necessarily do more or go wider. You go deeper with the content that you already have. And the cool thing is that you can take this one piece of content that you already have created and you can create micro pieces of content based off of this. So she could do a talking head video that's like, hey, have you ever considered, if you've been dreaming of going to Praia de Ursa, I would absolutely love to book this for you. I am now booking for whatever that year is. Here's the overall vibe, right? So as she's creating her social media strategy, you are looking for a really good balance of inspiration, education, awareness, and then talking head videos. So it's like every fourth video is a talking head educational type content. So you're mixing in the inspiration because obviously destination elopement photography, it's very inspiration heavy. Okay, so it's got to be visually appealing, very stunning, very clickable, very aesthetic, and it's got to match the brand. Like it has to match what you're charging. Like if you're charging $6,500 to $10,000, then the branding had better be on point with that, because otherwise there's like a friction, right? Where people will be like, oh, well, they click it and then they're here and they're like, ah. So that's where like you get the branding down. You choose pins that are oftentimes mixing like the luxury fonts. So a luxury font is that serif style font mixed with the very beautiful like handwritten script fonts. Okay. So it's really fun. So you guys are going to love Pinterest. Now, as far as a Pinterest strategy goes, Pinterest rewards consistency. So you at least want to start a 90-day Pinterest strategy. If you're focusing on building evergreen content, you can make a content bank, but you at least want to have one pin per day, because Pinterest rewards that, and then it's going to help build the momentum for you and put you in front of new people. Otherwise, if you're just posting like, well, I'm going to post one pin here, it loves when you create pins on their platform. So not that you can't pin things from TikTok, you absolutely should. You should be repurposing your content. If you're making videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, pin your content, pin it, okay? That's how you go further with what you're already doing. But if you're focusing on building out that evergreen Pinterest strategy, you want to have like I'm talking like if you focused on Pinterest for 6 months to 1 year, your brand 1 year from now would look entirely different if you set up and build out a Pinterest strategy where even you're just doing one pin a day. So even if you sit down once a week and you plan out your Pinterest content, it's going to be amazing. Pinterest is so underrated for driving traffic, but it's absolutely incredible. So there you go. You guys have like a little mini Pinterest training here. If you want to go deeper in that, let me know. If you have questions, you can always pop into Out of Office AI. This is one of the things we talk about, which is building your automated income system, which also deals with setting up your business and brands on some of these platforms so that you're driving traffic and doing all the things. Okay. All right. See you guys later.